It's your first Connect Group meeting. Congratulations. This meeting is really going to help to set the tone and culture for your Connect Group, and first impressions are always important. So, here are a few tips and suggestions to starting well. First, before your meeting, you want to prepare with prayer. In the days or weeks leading up to your first meeting, keep your Connect group in prayer. Don't stress and remember that God is the one orchestrating the group and the details. We are His people, and every person that shows up belongs to Him. So just trust and pray. Pray and ask for the right people to show up to the group and for their hearts to be prepared for your time together. And pray for your own heart as you step into leading. Ask God to guide you and for your heart to be in alignment with His heart for the group. There are things that we can do on our part to be prepared, but at the end of the day, the group is in God's hands. So start with prayer and trust Him in that. Second, prepare your time together. This is really important for your group. The first meeting is really going to be about relationships, so don't stress too much about the details and it going exactly as planned. But have a clear idea, know the flow of your time, and just kind of have an outlook of what your time will look like together so that you as a leader can know what's coming next and just keep things moving along when you need to. We'll talk about that just a little bit more later. Thirdly, we want to communicate. It's really important to communicate with your group outside of just the group time. You want to be texting people one-on-one and having those intentional conversations. So about a day before your first time getting together, send a welcoming message to your group members, including the location of the meeting, any needed instructions on how to get there, gate code, all those things, what time to arrive, and a short description of the location. This will give them the reassurance that they're going to the right place at the right time, and it could really encourage someone who might feel a little hesitant and need a little bit of encouragement or maybe nervous to show up. Lastly, remember to prepare the environment. We already talked about what that looks like and why, but it's worth mentioning again, I promise. A clean and fresh environment can make all of the difference. So don't forget to make sure that the seatings are already set up and arranged so everybody can see each other. Normally a circle works best if you have space for that type of environment. The other thing is you want to make sure your space is clean, clear of clutter, and is smelling nice and fresh and ready to welcome guests. If you have some persistent pet friends, maybe you want to put them away during the visit to make everyone feel comfortable. Now, a few things to keep in mind for during your first meeting. Firstly, welcome everybody with name tags. It's really easy to forget everybody's name, especially when you're meeting them for the first time. And so if your group meets at the church, make sure that you have a designated group spot so that other members can know where to go and where you're going to welcome them. If they're meeting in your home, welcome them at the door. And then rather than just shouting, "Hey, come on in, door is open," it really makes a difference when you are coming to someone's home for the first time. Always make sure that you have name tags in the group if it's somebody's first time, because it really helps when people can't remember people's name. And that way you won't feel the need to ask, "What's your name again?" throughout the night multiple times. Save yourself the embarrassment or save the other people in your group an embarrassment too. And so it gives a little bit of extra time to remember names. That's just a snippet. I encourage you to do that if you have capacity. Next, after you've given about 20 minutes for people to arrive and connect, get to know each other a little bit more. Gather around together. Do an icebreaker, do some things to help other people get to know other people in the group, but make it so it doesn't feel too vulnerable. Openness will come with time as trust and relationships are built, but it's best not to force it on day one. So an icebreaker can be something simple, like everyone going around the circle and introducing themselves and asking a question. If you had one round trip in a time machine, where would you choose to go back in time into the future and why? You'll want to keep those things in mind, like people who maybe don't enjoy icebreakers or things like that. But you know what? You get warmed up to them and it'll be a lot of fun. And so these are just a few minutes at the beginning. You're not going to focus your whole group time on this, but it really is already starting to nurture a sense of community through that sharing. And so you'll have some materials that will be shared with you. You can follow along also as I'm sharing in your group leader guide. In the first meeting, you also want to go through the ground rules. This is going to really take part of your discussion time, and it's important to do this your first meeting because you really want to set your group up for a win. Each group will have different ground rules, but you really want to include some of the things like purpose, commitment, rules of engagement. So, first, purpose. All groups at Centerpoint are about creating a space for people to grow closer to God in life changing community. So, take some time to talk about what that means for your group and what that could look like in this group setting. Next, let people know what the plan is in regards to commitment. Does your group meet every week or every other week? Will you be meeting for 2 hours or an hour and a half or 3 hours? How will your group be handling food and refreshments? These are all worth covering so that everyone knows exactly what to expect and you guys are all on the same page. It's also a great idea to help disperse some responsibility and maybe pass off hosting to someone else if that is not exactly your strong cup of tea. Finally, go over rules of engagement. This is just really about how your group interacts with one another. If you're part of men's, women's, or classes as a leader, I want to share with you this document that we use called Cabin Rules. Since you won't have as much time for this is already done and it's a great tool to kind of set the tone. If you're in Home Connect group, and as you create a foundation, you can create rules of engagement that are unique to your group. And it's really important to have an agreement of confidentiality and respect. We want to be clear that confidentiality is valued because it shows that we value people and respect. This is about acknowledging that each person is made in God's image. And while we may all have issues, we see each person as a child of God first. This involves things like listening without judgment or criticism, giving space for differing opinions and viewpoints, and not giving advice unless it's welcomed or asked for first. Participation is also a good thing to touch on. Encourage everybody to really lean in and participate during the times of discussion. It doesn't mean that we're going to force people to open up or to share when they're not ready. It just means that we want to encourage people to join in on the conversation because when we engage, we grow. It's a good sign that the group is going well when you get to hear from everyone. And lastly, during your meeting, be mindful of time. Try to keep your eye on the clock and even create a schedule. Maybe it's just for yourself that you stick to as the group progresses. Start wrapping up about 15 or 20 minutes before the official end time so you have a little space for prayer and connection at the end. And what happens in the first meeting can easily set the expectation for future meetings. So we don't want to run later than we've asked people to commit to because people may not want to come back. And so one big reason we want to end on time is to honor that commitment. It gives people who are a bit more time conscientious and who need to leave for whatever reason, whether it's childcare or work in the morning, the freedom to say goodbye without feeling like they're being a disruption to everyone in the group if it's still going. If you said the group was going to be an hour and a half, do your best to stick to it. But hey, if people want to linger for another hour after it officially ends, that's up to you and them. But either way, anyone who has got to go when it ends, they can still participate and really receive the full experience. All right. Now, after your first meeting, these are some things that you want to do. Once again, we want to communicate. After the first meeting, send a text or email just thanking everyone who came. And even a short and sweet message can really go a long way to helping your group members feel seen and feeling like they really connected with you and the group. If anyone signed up but didn't show up, let them know that they were missed and hope that they can join in on the next one. And hey, if you really want to go the extra mile, try to connect with them the week before the next meeting. You will be so surprised what individualized text can do, especially as you're starting your group. Of course, celebrate. You are doing it and you are adding so much value and goodness to the Centerpoint family by stepping up to lead a group. As you continue on, you will maybe make some adjustments to your meetings to really fit the needs of your specific group. It is vital to building a strong foundation of relationships so that you can grow closer as a group to God in life-changing community because life is better when we grow together.